And welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
Yo.
Welcome to Have I Got News For You? D&D 5th edition Ravnica game. Episode 9. A Gruul World. That one's just for me.
just no.
That one's
I
just for
approve.
me. So, as I said, this is a D&D 5th edition Ravnica game set on the Plane of Ravnica. We will be playing more street level Ravnicans than most Ravnica games who deal on the planeswalkery side of things. We don't play that game here, unfortunately. We play a bit more of the old, bit more of your everyday person, the kind of person that takes 9 episodes and counting to solve a 2-episode murder mystery.
We're journalists, not investigators.
You know, before we start the recap, right?
Not even journalists.
Right. Oof. Journalist is a stretch.
Before we start the recap, we begin the last session, and I'm like, oh, you know what? They'll get off the bus. I'll give them the name. They'll latch onto the name. They'll go looking for the name. Got off the bus. They got the name of the person they need to go see. 3 hours later, they're like, oh, we should go see that person. Anyway, 5th edition Ravnica game. Small note, my job as the DM is to keep the game running. There is, if I rule something that isn't the way you would rule it, deal with it. House rule now. And if I rule it different after that, that is now the house rule because keep things moving. That being said, let's go around and introduce our players. Starting bottom right with our Loxodon Sorcerer. Take it away, Jamie.
Yes. Hello, I am Agustus. I am the Loxodon Sorcerer from the Izzet League. I am also the cameraman. And I also like blowing things up.
Over above him, we have our Goblin Rogue.
Hello, I am Zimzix from House Dimir, and I basically push people around and tell them what to do, and yeah,
And
Miss Boss Pants.
is very, very good at stealth. Honest.
Yes.
I'm good at stealth. I'm just really bad at everything else.
Next, our Goblin Rogue, we have our human Cleric.
Hello, I'm Jordan. I play Adelchi, the human documancer of the Orzhov Syndicate for our group. And yeah, I try to keep things organized. Something I don't actually do in real life. But
Try
this
being the
world-
operative word.
Yes. Very much so.
And below him, we have our Paladin, question mark?
Hello, everybody. I'm Poetics, and yes, I play Ruric Welptan, our human paladin, who is very, very earnest and true-hearted and not very bright. So he figures out what's going on and then has no idea what to do with that information, which I think is one of the reasons we are on episode 9 of the 2-episode mystery.
No.
No.
No, this isn't just your fault.
Not just.
A lot of this blame on Zimzix.
Yeah. Anyway, before we go into play, let us recap what happened in our last session.
You did a pretty good summary there. Yeah, we got off the bus and we were all like, we talked to a guy who gave us some information about interesting things, but we're all like, we came here to get the flowers. So we're gonna go get the flowers. So we went to the post office, and shenanigans ensued.
I want to hear about some of those shenanigans. I was outside.
Non-Loxodon shenanigans.
So in short, we arrived at the town of Moro. We were in search for someone named Moral that no one seems to know. We ran into someone named Bepis at the town visitors center, for lack of a better word, who suggested that the bigwig in town was his uncle, Hierarch Baul. And it seems that a huge part of the town had been rebuilt maybe 10 years ago, and there weren't a lot of old people in town, most people being young. And we learned that was due to a large forest fire maybe 10 years ago. And after a lot of not finding a lot of things in town, we decided to go back to Bepis to find out where his uncle hangs out.
And what else were you doing when or when I say you, I specifically mean the cleric and the rogue, while you were at the depot? Because that's absolutely not going to come back to haunt you.
Cleric, would you like to elaborate?
Negotiated our way into the package depot, at which point Zimzix decided to just, knock everything the fuck over and forget the operative word of stealth operations being stealth.
There was, however, what I might claim as one of my favorite moments in any D&D game ever. Right before we went to the break last week, when Adelchi had negotiated his way into the package factory, and he turns to Zimzix and goes, "You should come inside." And Zimzix goes, "Well, it's up to this dude." Jordan's reaction.
It was deception.
Jordan's reaction. Anyway, if you want to see that, you can go and check it out on our YouTube channel. All of the episodes are now up through episode 8, last week's episode. We are doing 2 episodes in a row this time, because we usually do it every other Tuesday, but with Christmas and other stuff coming up, every other Sunday, sorry. With Christmas coming up, we figured we'd get 2 in for December and then take a bit of a vacation until January. So you were on your way back to Bepis, if I believe, at the TIB, Forest Information Booth, as this area does have quite a lot of tourists coming to it for the orchards and farms and the relaxation like that for the older people. And for the younger people, there is a slightly different attraction, aka King's Eye Core and the Board.
We're apparently out of town at the moment.
They just don't have a gig schedule. It was assumed that was because they were out of town. So, is there anything you all want to do, or talk about, or discuss, or set up before you get back to Bepis?
We're never going to get these flowers.
I agree.
Well, we have a name.
I cast Dimension Door and find a new plane of existence to dwell on.
That's
not quite how that works for like a first or second level spell, but okay.
We have a name, and we have well, I mean, he's the guy who knows everything that's going on.
Well, we have 2 names. We have the head guy, And we have
Oh,
the information guy, which technically we already knew, but that's neither here nor there. So, well, I guess we just go back to him.
And find out where his uncle is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe find out why no one knows who Moral is when Moral is supposed to be the person we're here for. Maybe
Right.
it's a code name.
could be a fake name, could be a business, could be
I always thought it was an acronym.
an acronym. Yeah, could be anything.
Acronym.
But anyway, I mean,
Someone want to explain to the Paladin what an acronym is?
Nah, let's keep him in the dark. Let's keep him in the dark.
he nodded and smiled.
Yeah, exactly.
So I
That's
guess
fine. He doesn't have to know everything.
yeah, I guess we
Good
go
thing.
with what we got, which is very little.
I think we're going back to Beppis.
Mm-hmm.
So Beppis is still in this little green and white tent that he inhabits most of, being a Loxodon, reading his comic book.
As before, I'm going to wait until he's done with a page. Then I'm going to kind of knock on my armor.
He look up and go, hello again.
Hello. Sorry to interrupt. We heard a lot of interesting stories about your uncle.
Oh
where
yeah, the
might
guy
we
I
find
mentioned
him?
to you at the beginning of last session.
Yeah.
What's a session?
Where might we find him?
Probably at his house.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of houses here.
Oh, he lives just outside town.
Oh, that's why we couldn't find him. So
Just-
that way?
Follow the road, out of town, about 10-15 minutes.
Oh,
You can't miss it.
I'm assuming he's pointing in the direction that
Yeah, he's giving you
Of the road.
directions.
Oh, that's
Okay.
easy enough.
There's lots of out of towns.
Bear in mind
Okay.
that, like, you came in one direction and it was wheat fields,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
most of the town is built on one main strip.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Have fun with the comic book.
I'm trying.
Sorry to bother you.
Let's go.
it's good. Good job. Give directions to my uncle's house.
You're doing great.
And it's just that moment of,
I think without further ado, we're going to set off down the road.
all right. So you wander down the main street past like various like pubs and inns, all of which seem to be fairly bustling. As I said, there is quite a bit of a touristy bent to this town. Even though it is on the outskirts of Gruul land, it is very much an agricultural town. There's shops, there's bakeries, all kinds of things. Is anyone stopping to do anything on the way?
I think in the effort to not irk our party who's been running around, I do think that Ruric is going to withhold his normal inquisitive inclination.
Okay. I'm gonna go find yourself a crawler or anything.
He's salivating a little bit as he walks along.
So you walk the 10-15 minutes down the road out of town. You've got a large, on the outskirts of town, there is like a large, like, barricaded wooden wall. You know, the traditional like log stuck in the ground kind of thing. Again, all of it looking fairly new. This wooden wall is going to burn down in a fire, right? The trees start almost immediately on the other side of this wall. there's a few areas of large expanse of grass in which you can see the remains of buildings and what looks to be roads and houses and things like that. And as you get, as Beppa said, about 10-15 minutes out of town, there's almost what looks to be, for lack of a better description, grass and things growing up through like a cobbled street, in the middle of which is it like a large fountain that would have like broken down and been overgrown now by like ivy and like a bird's nest in it, and like it's all been reclaimed by nature since this fire. And just off of this old town square is this very beautifully rebuilt home. It's not huge by any stretch of the imagination. Probably a bit bigger than most of the buildings in the city, in the town of Morrow. But you, at least, Ruric, would figure out this is because it's got a worshipful area for the Selesnyites attached to it. There's even like a couple of large trees that you think may have Vodai in them or that kind of thing. Just, it's very much a glade amongst this overgrowth of this forest. Which, roll me a nature check, Ruric.
All right, I actually have a bonus to this. 20.
I would like to point out I'm not intentionally picking all of the skills you have minuses on.
Oh, I know. That is a skill I would normally have a minus on, but I'm proficient. So
Oh, lovely. So what did you roll?
total of 20.
The regrowth here for a huge fire happening 10 odd years ago is impressive.
Sure.
It has obviously been magically encouraged.
Yeah.
But there's like a nice gravel pathway up to the you get to the square and you can see like the wrecked buildings around the square that have been like, they're like, you know, like typical like first person shooter terrain, like chest high walls with like,
yeah,
but it's all like covered in ivy and vines and creepers, and there's bushes that have sprung up everywhere. And then as you approach we'll call it the sanctum, right? Things start getting a bit more tended.
Mm-hmm.
And the what would have been a dirt street coming off of the square has been replaced with like a gravel pathway, and it's all very respectfully done.
And as we approach, Ruric is going to ask, do we have a plan? Like how upfront are we going to be with this guy? I mean, he's important. Don't get me wrong. He's important in the Conclave, and he's important to the town. How much are we going to tell him up front so I don't get in trouble by saying too much?
Honestly, I don't even know why we're talking to this guy.
When are you having this conversation?
Well, I imagine in the 15 minutes,
okay,
kind of walk out of town.
When you say approaching, I was like from the square to the sanctum, or
right. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt the description of the area, but yeah, I imagine as we're leaving town, as we're getting closer to the buildings itself.
Yeah.
I mean, our whole point of coming out here was to find those flowers, and that's not happening. So I don't know why we would get involved with the affairs of this town unless we're planning to report on it.
Well, if the flowers were sent here, and this is the most important guy in town, he would probably know about the flowers because, I mean, these things aren't cheap.
I mean, I don't think he'd know everything that's coming and going out of the town. However, I would say that if we are going to just talk to him, I'd give him a 50-50. 50 in the know, 50 out of the know. So we tell them, hey, we're from RNN. We're on official business. We're looking for X. We don't have to give him all the little details because he doesn't need to know. That's just where that's what I would go with.
Hey, time out, just to catch everybody up at this point. Augustus said they're from RNN. This campaign started out as a story about the Ravnica News Network, which was the idea of televisual news, like CNN, arriving on Ravnica, which have, for 10,000 odd years, despite their magic and technology, relied on like newspapers. That is how this was originally slated to go. The players had different ideas, as they always do, but that may return in the future.
I mean, we could always say we heard about the fire when we were interested in knowing more about the town and what he's doing here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that doesn't get us any closer to the flowers.
See, that's why we're setting them up, right? We're hitting them with the feint and then coming over with the jab.
Do you know anyone named Raul?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't be as forward as that, but we'll get around to that.
To answer the question, yes, this is happening on the Plane of Ravnica.
Yeah.
Each of our players is from a different guild, and all of those guilds had come together to become part of the Ravnica News Network, run by
Most of the guilds have come together, not all of them.
All of the guilds that you are part of had come together.
Yes.
No, the Gruul and the Simic and the Golgari had very much been like, not our thing. But anyway, carry on.
So we're gonna lie to the most important guy in town, who's a pillar of. Okay.
Don't think of it as a
You're
lie.
saying
We're following up
lie.
on.
We're actually making a colorful truth. It's not a lie.
We heard about the things. We wanted to know more about it. Maybe we might write a story. I mean, it all fits. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's interesting, we can certainly make it a story.
Yes.
I mean, the news network needs more than one thing about the Simic Circus.
And hey, we could always go after
sorry, the
Rakdos
Circus.
We could also try to get an interview with King Ikor and the other
War Bears or the War Boars. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Hey, we can matriculate this into many different avenues to get to where we need to.
I better let you two do the talking then, because okay.
I don't think that's wise. I'm pretty sure they've heard about me trying to burn down the spa. So yeah, me talking. I mean, even though this is probably remote, word travels, and I'm pretty sure.
I am under the impression they don't know about you specifically.
I mean, that could have been anyone. We haven't written about it. We didn't put it in a story.
We did.
True.
We're the biggest news in town.
We have our own newspapers, but anyway, just
bear in mind that only happened in
days ago.
The story of it may have happened months ago for the five of us, but in world that only happened about 18 hours ago.
Yeah.
And we spent most of the intervening time on a train.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, Zimzix, are you gonna handle this?
I mean, if we're talking to this guy, I suppose so. Adelchi, do you have any input?
At this point, the story of the circus has just turned into one giant circus of all of the Seventh Ward. So I think we introduce ourselves and see where it all goes from there. Because in the past day and a half, looks down at the non-existent watch.
Nice.
You can
In the
have
past day and a half.
you can have a chronometer if you want one.
Well, then fine. It's gonna be on a nice
Yeah.
chain. It's got to be a pocket watch at that point. Then, in the past day and a half, anytime we have tried, to come up with some sort of plan, it all just catapults itself down the nearest zonot into oblivion. It's
All
let's
right, so
introduce ourselves
So we
here.
go in without a plan, and it'll turn out
Basically.
better.
Oh, so we're winging it. Yes, I like it.
But yeah, well, we can go in, introduce ourselves as RNN, say we were following. Again, like you said, no details on the reality of it, but we heard about the fire. We want to talk to him. Go from there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, or could we? Are you going to arrive
I
at the
think that's
sanctum
our
at this point?
plan. Is Zimzix is going to straight up lie to the guy, and then
It's not a lie.
it's
It's
totally.
called a colorful truth. It's not a lie.
And then Ruric is going to stand there trying not to give away the fact that he knows they're lying or thinks that they're lying.
Okay, so I will say that fast forward to the point where you guys are stood at the entrance to the gravel path, about a 3-minute walk down to the sanctum through some quite nice gardens. You can see various neophytes in green and white robes tending to the grounds. Ruric, roll me a call it an insight check.
10.
These don't. How do I? You know how, like, different people from different parts of the world will act differently, even though they're, like, related or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, and it's been quite established that in your little in the District 6 Verdani, it's been documented that there are large. Everyone's very touchy-feely, huggy, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Here, while there is a definite sense of an extended family about this group, there is very little of that physical.
Okay.
Everyone's very much focused on their jobs. They'll talk to each other, but there'll be no, like,
It's not there's not the banter, it's not the communal kind of atmosphere, maybe.
not at the moment. Not that
Okay.
you would not compared to what you know of a full-fledged Verdani.
Got it. Can I tell if they're working to if they're more working to maintain or to, like, build, if that distinction makes sense?
That would depend on who you're looking at.
Okay.
Like, there are very much people who are tending the garden, tending the grounds, like making sure that the bushes are well fed, the flowers are growing well, the apple trees are picked, the other fruit trees are tended to, and then there are very much people who look like they are heading out into the field, read the jungle or the forest at large.
Yeah.
And they very much look like they're taking the industrial equipment with them. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Okay.
It's like the difference between a gardener and someone planting a tree.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And
Tucking that one away.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And they're the people in the garden, and they're all like reciting the prayers to the world soul, and that as
Mhm.
they're like one of them is shaping a topiary bush into a nice like a conical shape, and another one is like spreading what you know. Everyone else there is going to think it looks like sherbet, like sparkly pop rocks, but you know is a form of like non-aggressive fertilizer, like,
Mhm.
spreading it across the flowers.
Mhm.
There's another as you actually sort of like get further into the grounds. Everyone roll me perception checks, and if you have bonuses based on hearing, you can roll.
See, I'm in my natural element here. 22.
5.
I rolled a 10
I
because
also
the
got a
man
22.
with the largest ears in the group can't hear for shit.
All the cherry bombs you've been setting off.
Yeah, I know, right?
What did you get, Adelchi?
22.
Okay, so the three of you and not the goblin can start hearing music matriculating from the other side of the sanctum, as if there's like a couple of people set out. You can pick out like a drum and like a lute, and a flute, there's a theremin,
An all natural, all wood theremin.
all
Yeah,
natural, all wood theremin, run on fertilizer. I don't know.
exactly.
But I can imagine you could almost get like a portable theremin that would hover. You could just feed it with magic if you were a mage. Use that as a. But anyway,
Sounds like something for you to create there, is it?
Yeah, I know, right? But I'm pretty sure if I built it, it would explode a lot of times.
You eventually
So-
get it right.
shrug.
Eventually.
So I imagine we're gonna walk right up basically to the front door.
As you like, the gardeners and things aren't very. They're not that they're not paying attention to you. They're very much noticing. Oh, there are visitors,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very much not their job to approach you. They have
Yeah.
a job they have to get done, so they're doing it. And
And
once,
I'll wave hello and
oh yeah,
whatnot.
they're not being standoffish. They if you wave or say hello, they'll give you a greeting back and cast a look at the goblin and the Loxodon. It's been like they aren't here to steal or burn anything down, that kind of thing.
Well, we haven't established that yet, but yeah, I
Nothing's
think
off
we're
the
gonna
table.
make our way to the front door. Oh, sorry, what was it, Jordan?
Nothing is off the table of
That's true.
of the
That's
Dimir
true.
or the Izzet doing their thing.
So the crunch of the gravel under your feet and the music. Even you can hear the music at this point, Zimzix. It's being played by people that know their instruments very well. But it is very much a light. It's not. They're not necessarily playing a tune. Nothing recognizable. None of the folk music from your history, Ruric. It's nothing. It's none of the recognizable music of Ravnica. It's just like a couple of people noodling on their instruments.
Is there some heavy percussion?
There's a drum that you can pick up. There might even be a tambourine in there somewhere and some cowbell.
So it's not like the
More
Mad
cowbell.
Max war rig or anything.
No, we're
That
not.
would
We're
be
not
awesome.
like Hell March isn't playing from Red Alert at this point. No,
That's true. That's
it
fair.
is very much. It is very much just people noodling on instruments. And
Jam
as
session.
you get to, I'm imagining as you walk up the gravel pathway, it widens out as you get closer to the house. And at the front of the house, there's like this set of rounded steps that lead up to like a porch area where the front door is. And as you are approaching that, you can see a gentleman who's probably about 65 years old. It's probably the oldest person you've seen in town. He's sitting there in a rocking chair. And there's a couple of younger neophytes that he's having a rather spirited discussion with.
I think that's our man.
Could be. As we approach, do they take any notice of us, or does he continue talking?
As it is clear that you're starting to approach the porch, the spirited discussion does die down, yes. And the one of the neophytes stands and turns and goes, "Oh, hello, brother," and gives Ruric a deep bow. What can we do for you?
We're sorry to interrupt.
I
your convers-
apologize. I was addressing the Selesnya. At which point, the older gentleman goes, Now, don't be rude. It's clear they are traveling together. Please come, sit." And
Thank
the
you,
two
sir.
neophytes kind of walk off, a bit chastised.
Thank you. And then I will let the rest of the conversation flow through Zimzix.
I'm sorry. As we're saying, we're from the Ravnica News Network, and we're in town.
Yes.
Yeah, we're covering a few things here and there, and we heard an interesting story about the fire that happened about 10 years ago, and we thought you might be a good person to speak to on this. If you'd have
How
some...
was your trip to the spa?
It was a trip.
He gives
Very
you a,
heard about
relaxing.
that. Yeah.
gives
Very
you a little. He
relaxing.
gives you a little smile.
We've run into a little trouble here and there as of that time.
Uh-huh. And what can I do for you out here, the wilds of Morrow?
Oh, well, like we said, we were hoping to get your insight on the rebuilding of the town, the everything that's happened basically since the fire.
I'm not the best person to speak to on that. If you want to know about the recultivation of the forests, I could help you there. But the actual rebuilding of the town took place by people who live in the town.
It's fair. Well, the forests they are looking quite well. I don't know much about plants and things, but it looks like you're.
I mean,
doing
I'm
a fine
sure.
job.
What was your name, brother?
Oh, I'm Ruric Welpton.
And what is your rank, Ruric?
Oh, I'm mainly I'm a yoga teacher, but just a simple acolyte.
Your family must trust you very well to send you this far.
It is an honor and a privilege to see so much in such a short amount of time, and to travel with such eclectic and noteworthy companions. They felt I should broaden my horizons and see more than just the groves and tendings of our simple gardens.
So you're in for quite a treat out here.
Thank you. It's amazing to see what has been done.
Roll me. Everyone, roll me a perception check.
Okay, this dice is going into dice jail again.
We just need to get you a potential rotating set of dice until you find one that rolls above a 2.
I guess so.
Ruric is apparently definitely in his element for another 22.
I rolled a 10.
5 again.
Oof.
22 again.
Okay. So
I have your dice.
our 2 humans notice a small. I'm going to use a more real world equivalent of a creature just to give you an idea of what this thing is size, and like a squirrel basically. Comes running out of like the front door of the house, runs up onto the little side table that's next to where the older gentleman is sitting, and like chitters something at him, almost like Emperor's New Groove style, like
Squeak,
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 squeak.
gum.
And he just nods and he talks normally about it. He goes, "Yeah, about time." And then he turns and goes, my friend here would like to know if you would be willing to join me for our afternoon meal."
We'd be honored.
Sure.
Excellent.
you.
We will have 4 guests. The little critter gives like a nod and runs off. Now, where were we?
Oh, we were talking about rebuilding the forests.
Yes, we have a quite dedicated team that have still to this day are working to regrow parts of the forest. Parts of it have stayed devastated. Areas further out, you know. But we're trying our best to regrow things here. I mean, I'm sure, Brother Weltan, that you're familiar with the growth magics of our clan.
Yes, I've seen them do remarkable things, but in the face of true devastation, they can take time.
And
Did
a
it s-
lot of effort. The brothers and sisters that are tasked with it come back very drained.
Did it seem like a magical fire, or was it a just natural one?
We were a little too busy trying to make it stop. Worry about.
That's fair. That's fair. Though I would imagine with regrowing it, you would have some indication of whether or not your processes are working based on any magics that might have been used, or
You are not a magic, are you?
no. Sorry.
The way that the regrowth magic works is we would plant a sapling and then focus the magic into the sapling rather than into the earth itself. The earth itself wasn't devastated anyway. There's no salting, there's no removal of nutrients, that kind of thing. In fact, if anything, the earth is now, because of the extra plant essence that is in it from the ash from the fire, the earth is, if anything, more nutrient heavy than ever. But we're just should we say encouraging the regrowth, helping saplings that we plant grow to an adult nature in a quicker time.
Okay. How far did the fire spread?
Miles.
Miles.
If you carry on past the sanctum here, down the road, it'll open out into full scrublands, and you'll see most of that at one point did have trees and things like that on it. There was we were lucky enough that the fire burnt in such a way that it almost created natural channels in the fire in the forest, so that the forest further out burnt and wouldn't spread as much as we thought it might.
Interesting. So is this mostly your people doing this replanting, or are you working with other, like maybe some of the Gruul or other agricultural experts?
We don't work with the Gruul necessarily. We have an understanding with the Gruul, but no. Let's just say they agreed to leave us alone, and we.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And you are doing completely natural. You're not doing any farm regrowing, right? Like no
I
agricultural.
don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Like you're doing trees and grasses and flowers, and rather than agricultural products like the things that they grow out here.
Well, a lot of what is grown out here is fruit, apples, pears. So we did help with some of the farms to get their orchards regrown, but that didn't take but a few years between the conclave we have here, the small Verdarni light, as it were, that we have here. We're not quite the size of what you have in District 6 and 7. But now we're pretty much focused on just letting nature heal itself rather than letting the town continue to.
And what's the plan as far as how far do you plan to go with the replanting? What's going to happen once you're finished? That sort of thing.
I believe this will be a task that is longer than my lifetime. You'll have to ask the next person.
All right. Does anyone else have any anything they're interested in?
Well, I have a selfish question.
Please ask.
When is the afternoon meal?
Soon.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's
been a long
we're
trip
having
out
to
here.
add 4 places to it, so you might have to give us some time to cook some extra food.
Of course. We appreciate the hospitality a great deal.
When was the last time you all ate?
It's been a while. Probably
Been a while.
Yesterday.
Anything more than hardtack, it's been at least a day. I had some terrible racticino on the train.
Which train?
One out of where
You took
we
an
were.
Indric.
Oh no, I meant the last train.
Oh, you mean the one? You mean the one
Coming
in
into-
District 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else I can help any of you?
Do you know a good person to speak to about the rebuilding of the town? Because we would like that angle as well.
I'd give you a few names.
That would be nice. Thank you.
Oh, and I wanted to point out that your nephew working at the information booth was very helpful.
Oh, Bepis, yes.
Yes.
He's a unique soul among our little Verdani here.
It's always good to have a friendly face be the one to greet visitors.
It keeps him out of trouble.
We all could use that from time to time, I think.
Some more than others, I feel.
Ruric tries very hard to avoid looking over at our Goblin and our Loxodon.
Roll me a will. There isn't a willpower save anymore, is there?
Not anymore.
Roll me a. We'll call it a deception check.
You do look, but
Totally fitting. That's a total of 4, and that's with a +3.
what? No.
Totally not looking.
So yes, you get your you unavoidably look over in the direction of the goblin, the it.
Yeah.
I'm just here running the camera.
Feel free to walk among the grounds. You'll hear the gong sound when food is ready.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there a place inside I could wash up? It's been a long road.
Oh yes, we'll take care of that before dinner. Don't worry about that.
Thank you.
Well, afternoon.
Yes. Oh, thank you for your time. I think we'll let you get back to your conversations.
I'm quite relieved that one is.
I understand. Thank you.
While the youth have a certain, he searches for a word, a certain pep to their step, shall we say, that an old timer like me doesn't have. It they can also be a little more tiring for me. Yes. I think I'm just going to sit and enjoy the sun.
I think Ruric will stand and sort of gesture for his fellows to do the same.
We'll go take a look around the grounds.
As Adelchi smooths out his vestments and readjusts himself from this conversation, one curiosity, Uncle. What do you know of the night blooming?
Roll me a
Oh no.
Here it comes.
roll me an insight check.
A what?
An insight check.
16.
You would know that is not the way to
Address him.
You would use his title.
Hierarch.
Okay, then. Quick question. One last question as we depart, Hierarch. What do you know of a night blooming Renzo? Blossoms.
Very, very rare flower. What
Do you
is
know
it you would like to know?
where they are grown, how they are cultivated?
There are rumors that there is a provider deep within District 7. They won't grow out here. They need to be grown in a deep, dark condition. What exactly is it you're looking for about the information wise?
Particularly, I am looking to acquire a dozen blossoms, but I was hoping the closer I could find my way to a source, the more convenient or expedient.
If I were to look for a dozen night blooming Renzos, I'd be looking in the Undercity. The only place
Which
you're going
is-
to be able to grow them.
Which is where we just left from, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Hierarch. and I will follow my compatriots out into whatever shenaniganry they are going to get into.
Just looking. Just looking. Waiting for the dinner bell.
So you tour around the grounds for 10, maybe 15 minutes. Just they're very nice grounds. There's as you go around behind the sanctum, there's like a little not quite a deck, not quite a gazebo, but it's definitely a sort of gathering area where a couple of people are sitting playing instruments. There's a very nice fountain that's circulating water, and there's like a fish pond. There's some very nice lawns, all kinds of beautiful flowers and that kind of thing. And after about 5-10 minutes, the gong rings, and everyone who's not on shift starts filing their way into the sanctum. And there's a very structured sort of, they all move towards a certain room. There's like an antechamber in which there's like 6 basins with running water, and before they enter the dining hall, each one of them washes their hands, washes their face, very much cleansing the work of the earth from their hands before they sit at the meal table.
While we're washing up, I'm gonna kind of sidle up to Ruric here. Hey, if you get a chance, can you get into a conversation with one of those acolytes who were talking to the hierarch earlier? I'd like to know what they were going on about. It seemed he was a little cagey.
Oh, the ones who didn't like you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just see
Sure.
be friendly with them, see what they're interested in.
Zimzix, roll me a just roll me a d20 and add your proficiency modifier.
Oh
Proficiency.
no.
Okay. What is that? 14. No. 12. That's 12.
Okay. Make a note of that number and we'll come back to it.
That's not creepy at all.
You good with that? Do you need any more instruction?
Well, I suppose it depends on where we get seated, but I'll do what I can.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
It'd probably be easiest if I'm not seated next to you. They didn't seem to take a liking to you.
No, I mean they just wanted you to do the talking. I'm not too worried. If you're friendly with them, I'm afraid I'd imagine they.
I'm friendly with everybody.
Exactly. You can do this. It's your thing. You got this.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I think we'll enter and do the cleansing.
So you're washing up, and you and the other acolytes, Adelchi, Zimzix, and Augustus, not as much, would be saying the ritual prayers and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Praising the Omnissiah, making sure the machine spirit is at rest. And you make your way into a large banquet hall. In here, the atmosphere is much more of that you're familiar with. The banter and it's a feast, right?
They're at refreshment. They're not
Yes,
at labor.
They are not at labor. They are very much at rest. They are even the musicians you saw playing on the gathering area. While they weren't necessarily on shift, they were very much taking it as a duty because they were entertaining those that were. You know what I
Right.
mean? But in here, it's like the workday is out there. We are in here. Let's have a good time. And the spread is fruits and nuts, and there is unusually you're probably not as used to this, Ruric. There is meat here. But that is, you've heard tell that some of the more remote places that don't have the abundance of resources, they do have hunters to maintain the natural order. Whereas a Verdani is very much the only source of animals and things within, unless you count the Simic, within the Ecumenopolis part of Ravnica. Out here, there is more of a need to supplement the fruits and the grains. There are even a few. You would spot people while you would know them as tenders and things like that, these are the people that will probably go out hunting out here because they don't tend animals.
Right. Okay.
So you take your seats and everyone just starts
Shout out.
eating. You are sitting with the hierarch. Or you're sitting with the hierarch.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I will look apologetically over at Zimzix because it looks like there's not going to be opportunity over food to indulge the brashness of youth.
It's okay.
This is, in all likelihood, a very futile endeavor. I'm going to look around the banquet hall to see if I can see any night blooming Renzos.
Okay.
Would that be perception or investigation?
We'll call it a nature check.
Okay. On the table. Come on the thing. 13.
There are many flowers here.
Gotcha.
It's pretty.
I will then make a show of appreciating the abundance of nature in this room.
The meal is it's a fairly I don't want to say pedestrian affair, but it's definitely people are eating. They're focused on getting their food, and then right around about 5 minutes after everyone's done eating, there is a people almost like get up and start moving around the hall and conversing with each other. It's very much a time of people just talking.
It's the social hour after.
Yeah,
after
and
food.
like the hierarchs holding court and things like that.
Okay. I will endeavor to use this opportunity to go speak with the young firebrands.
Okay. So we'll come back to that in a moment, right? Adelchi, Zimzix, and Augustus, while Ruric is off tracking down the two people that you spoke with earlier, what are you doing? Other than wanting to slap the children that are outside right now.
Well, there's
They
that
are
too.
very loud. I don't
Yeah.
know whether you can hear them.
Oh,
I can hear them. not being terribly comfortable within this setting.
You're just gonna kind of sit put.
yeah, kind of sit put, and maybe make a comment to the hierarchy. This is quite the spread you have for a normal Thursday night.
When one tends for the land tends to provide.
Yeah, I also am gonna stay put.
All right.
For reasons, just because I don't want any fires to
You
start.
don't want
and
to
I
set
get
anything on
blamed.
fire.
Yeah,
Very
of course.
flammable
Reasons.
setting.
You're not
Sit
in
in
a
one
very
spot.
flammable place. This is a stone house.
I mean,
This
fire
isn't-
can get hot enough to melt stone.
Don't challenge him.
Something about steel beams.
Yeah, right.
Gets that flux conduit, and all kinds of things will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
When the whole room gets up to sort of do the socializing,
Mhm.
Adelchi will sort of take his drink and not directly engage in any conversation, but he will walk around and listen to
Just listen.
listen.
Roll me roll me an investigation check.
17.
A lot of it is just talk about. There's a group of people talking about how they're heading out into the forest for regrowth duties this afternoon. Another group of people talking about how they're heading into town to trade. Someone's got to do a run and pick up some stuff from the depot that you were at last session. Someone else is talking about how they were in a pub in town last night with a couple of other people getting drunk. A couple of people talking about a couple of more young people talking about various duties and businesses and things, their personal lives and that sort of thing. Is there anything specific you're listening out for?
Honestly, anything that might help us get back on track of finding morale, or just trying to see if there anything that might help us get back on track.
You're not hearing
Right.
the name Marol.
Okay.
So we will go back to Ruric. You find the two gentlemen that had been conversing with the hierarch in a group in the corner with like a couple of young women and there's like an elf and a Loxodon and others. They're just talking about their day and their private lives, really. As you approach, they smile and go, "Welcome. Please sit, join us."
Thank you. I have to apologize for my friend earlier. She thinks of herself as a leader.
I mean, why should she not?
We all perform best when planted in the right soil. Sometimes she can be a real morale.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Unusual that a districtor would know that name.
We travel. It's the task we've been given, to travel and document, and sometimes keep other people from documenting. You know how it goes.
Not really.
Well, there are things that should grow and there are things that shouldn't grow. We cultivate those things that are most beneficent for the environment, and we try to cull that which isn't, right?
If that's the case, how did you end up with a Dimir and an Izzet?
They let's say they needed some careful tending lest they grow unchecked.
So while I appreciate your reply, not all replies are answers.
Oh, okay. So short of it is our collective employers didn't really trust them to be out in the world alone. And so I'm trying to provide some scaffolding to help them grow ideally straight and narrow and not so chaotically.
Okay.
How about that?
I mean, and the one that had like directly stopped Zimzix earlier looks at you. It's weird because we'd been noticing that there aren't a whole like, and he looks around like, have you noticed something about Morrow?
On one hand, I'm new here,
Which
and I
is
don't
why
want to give
we're
offense.
asking.
On the other hand, yeah, this place it's different from a lot of the other places I've been. A lot different.
Yeah, like there's 4 guilds missing.
I don't want to say almost like they've been wiped off the map, but more like they've been told not to come here.
It just feels like there's the Selesnya, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Boros.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the
Because they're everywhere. Yeah.
The Azorius, they're everywhere. And there's the Orzhov.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's it. I mean, I can understand there being no Golgari because we don't have an Undercity, right? And I can kind of understand there being no Izzet because there's nothing to tinker with out here.
They usually find a way to find something to tinker with.
But like, there's no Dimir, no Rakdos.
It's to continue the thread of earlier, it seems very monoculture here. Very planned, not natural.
Yeah.
I mean, how long have you been here?
I've been here all my life.
Do you? I imagine you don't travel much. Your duties here are. I mean, it's a lot to do.
Oh, we have the tourists that come in, and again, we do see like Gruul tourists. Dimir tourists and Izzet tourists and Simic tourists and the like, but they never stay.
Yeah, they all leave when they realize they're the only ones.
No, it's just that they're tourists. They have jobs to go back to, homes and family.
This is a it seems like this place has been through some tough times, some real tough times. And in other places that have gone through tough times, it's all of the guilds coming together, well, most of the guilds coming together that helps bring a society back. We help people understand the necessity and the beauty and the essential nature of nature and the world. But every guild brings something. And maybe that's what makes me on edge about this place, is that it's like a song missing several instruments. Even if they're subtle, and you may not be able to tell when they're there, you can certainly tell when they're missing. I mean, this project here is going to take further decades and
Lifetimes.
decades. Yeah.
Who knows? It might just all burn down again.
Hope not.
At least they've made the buildings out of stone this time. That's progress.
It's movement. I don't know if it's progress. I've seen some beautiful wood homes.
Right, but when you live in a place that's prone to forest fires...
Well,
At
one
least you-
major forest fire in 10 years. That's not prone.
Maybe the only major one, but it's not the only one we've had.
I wonder what's setting all those fires then, because there are places that isn't so common.
Well, believe it or not, there aren't many places on Ravnica where there are forests.
I know.
What usually sets off a forest fire is a tourist. They come out here and they're like, we're from the big city. We can go camping. We know what we're doing. No, they don't.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Or
I had someone
someone
burn
goes, you
down
know
my
what would be a
studio once."
great idea? I should light this campfire with a fireball.
And then leave to go look at a stream or something, and it just, yeah.
Because who in their right mind would use fire magic around wood?
No one in their right mind. So, not to demean or to suggest that what you're doing here isn't incredibly important, but would you want to go other places if it were an option?
No. While it's strange to have a lack of the other guilds and it makes us distrust them a little, we like it here. Peaceful, it's quiet. Nothing nefarious going on. There's the occasional rock concert that we all get to attend for free.
It's a perk. It's good. One thing I've picked up, and it was a hard lesson to learn though, most places have something nefarious going on. That's part
I'll
of
cross that bridge when we come to it.
Good. Well, I hope it's not something that any of you ever have to deal with.
At that point, a gong sort of rings, and those that are on the afternoon shifts start heading out, and the people who had been working the morning shift start coming in, and what they start cleansing themselves, and the tables stocked, and the people who had been working in there get their fill.
And I imagine the morning people go and kind of head back to their jobs.
Well, no, the morning people are now coming in. So while you were lunching, the morning people were still working.
Understood. Gotcha.
So the people who were on lunch are now working.
That's what I
and
meant.
the people who, yes.
Okay. I'm going to go find my companions, who, from what I understand, have not moved much.
Adelchi
Adelchi was mingling. not joining in
Sure.
conversations, but definitely listening. And Zimzix was responsible, staying by the hierarch, as was your Loxodon.
See my hands. I'm not doing anything.
The hands on the table, like. And yeah, you can easily make your way back, catch Adelchi's eye if
Yeah.
you want to.
Yeah. Ruric makes it obvious that he wants to have a side conversation with them all.
Okay.
If you excuse us, hierarch, once we get those names, we'll get out of your hair. We're gonna go.
I'll get them for you after the
Yeah.
meal. It'll be fine.
Okay, thank you. That's fine. If you excuse us, I think we're going to regroup and discuss our next move.
Very well.
Well, once again, Hierarch, thank you for the food. It was quite
It
delicious.
was absolutely our pleasure, my Loxodon friend.
All right. So, once excused, head over to Ruric.
So, the people here are suspicious of other guilds because the other guilds don't have bases here, and so they don't have populations here, and it's very singular focused.
Okay, as he says that, what did you roll earlier?
12.
12. You are used to a certain amount of background Dimirness, right? Like a lot of your guild stuff happens in the background.
Mhm.
Like it's people hiding in plain sight, seeing little chalk marks on building that no one else would spot, or you know what I mean, like. And you, with a 12, it's only at this point when he mentions it that you realize that there's been none of that since you got here.
So,
Of course, there's not a whole lot of interest out here, but
well,
you're right.
speaking of interest, the youth here knew the word morale, and they were very surprised that an outsider like me would know the word. They didn't expand on that anymore, but it's
Did they
obviously a certain
There
local
was something
thing.
that was said that you probably would have picked up on.
Okay.
Whether Ruric would have picked up on it.
Yeah.
They definitely called it Aimee.
Yes.
Okay, I was just going to
I
ask
know
that.
that,
Did it seem
yes.
like a name?
Yes, I know that, but Ruric,
Okay.
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, I was just going to ask.
I know that some people at the table's notes may not be the most complete, so I'm just making sure everything is said twice.
Yes.
That way, if it comes up later, I can be like, well, I told you twice.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, did
So-
it seem like a person or a thing or?
Well, more like a person than a thing, I guess. But they were really surprised that I knew that word.
Well, I asked the hierarch for a list of names of people to talk to in town, and I'm kind of hoping the name will be on there. But if not,
I don't think it will be, because it seems like a private thing, or a maybe not a hidden thing, but a not given to outsiders kind of thing.
sort of a code word for some organization, like if I want to
I
get into
don't know.
certain places, I might know a certain thing or a certain person.
Well, I
You
mean,
wouldn't
yeah,
know
that's how you
anything
get into
about that.
places. You know a person.
It gets a little more complicated.
I mean,
than
we
that, but yeah.
we went to the spa. And that's only because I happen to know someone who knew somebody.
Right. What I'm saying is sometimes there are places that are closed off to people,
Mhm.
and you have to say something like Moral sent me, and they would let you in. Whereas there might not actually be someone named Moral.
Oh.
And being that Varys, interesting. I wonder if there's one of those anti-Semitic groups here.
The youth were mentioning that it was weird not having all the other guilds around. They found that weird, and that's people from who live here. They said they had tourists, but they wondered what life was like outside with and among the other guilds. Like, they're from here and they note that that's weird. So, I mean, that's weird.
I wonder if the hierarch is involved.
Well, the kids say, kids, some of them are older than me, but the kids say that, there's nothing nefarious going on here, which is exactly what you would say if there was something nefarious going on here.
So what you're saying is that there's just order and no chaos.
Kind of annoying, isn't it?
It's not natural. And
Yeah,
that's
of
me
course.
saying that. Please don't use fireballs. Just saying. They made that very clear.
Don't start the chaos.
I can't make that promise.
And if
I'm
you
sorry.
do, bring Billy Joel.
Nice.
No,
Yes.
he didn't start the fire.
Yes, which is what you're going to need to be telling people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because it was already burning.
Since the world's been turning. So
Exactly.
someone here knows Moral, either in the literal sense or in Zimzix, your metaphoric sense. It's a private, internal, local only thing. And there's definitely nothing shady going on. And the hierarch told us he doesn't know anything about the Renzos. So, I believe him. Maybe it's all happening underneath his nose and he's just, focused on the forest.
But the question is, why did the conversation he was having with those acolytes earlier, they were fired up about something, and he was apparently, I'm guessing, trying to put out that fire, or at least not wanting to talk about it.
Oh, I didn't get that far. It turned to farming techniques, and at that point, the gong sounded. So,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. There are 18 different kinds of hose.
What a
Man, there's a joke in there somewhere.
Oh,
I only knew 14, but apparently there are a couple more that are only used in forests.
Don't forget the Thundercat hoe.
I'll have to ask about that one.
it's a powered hoe. It's fine.
So where do we go from here? We know there's some secret Moral stuff going on. And it has something to do with the flowers.
Right. Well, let's get that list of names.
My eyebrow can't go any higher, so that's as
You're doing better than
significant as I can bring
can't
up
really
at the,
do the
time,
one
at the
eyebrow
moment.
thing.
Augustus,
Yes.
roll me a perception check at this point.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh.
Perception, yes, his eyebrow can go higher. He's lying to you.
Hey. Let's see. I rolled an 18.
So, as the member of the group who has, how do I put this,
Oh, no.
most reliably been interested in food,
Yes.
you are noticing that you aren't being kicked out of the room for second lunch.
Your nose senses are tingling.
Ooh, so that means that we can still eat. Yeah, I like that.
At which point we are going to take our break for today as
Go
the
for it.
crew return to the dinner table to perhaps do more investigation on the term and Gruul, or perhaps just to eat all of the apples.
Yes.
That being said, we will be back in about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how long it takes each of us to use the restroom, refresh our beverages, and get back into working order. Until then, please enjoy the tunes that we'll be playing over the break. Or if you're on YouTube, we'll see you in part 2. Thanks a lot, everybody, and we will see you on the other side.